Harley Davidson just did the unthinkable. 5 brand new 2026 models that sound nothing like the Harleys you grew up with. For riders who built their pride on thunder and chrome, this lineup could redraw what it even means to be a Harley rider. Because this isn't just new metal, it's a challenge to the brotherhood itself. Stay till the end, because the final bike on this list doesn't just evolve Harley's soul, it dares to replace it. Number 5. Harley Davidson Pan America 1250 Special. There was a time when few believed adventure and American steel could share the same sentence. Pan America proved them wrong, and in 2026, it proves it again. Built for riders who chase horizons beyond the interstate, this machine represents Harley's loudest declaration that freedom is not limited to asphalt. It is a motorcycle for those who have outgrown the showroom talk and would rather taste the wind that rolls off a high ridge at dawn. The road ends, this one keeps going. Every number tells part of a story, but the feeling tells the rest. The first push of the starter delivers a hum, not a roar, and the engine settles into a poised rhythm that feels balanced rather than tame. The throttle responds like an unspoken promise, steady, direct, and patient until you ask for more. Twist harder, and it rises with strength that seems to come from the ground itself. The torque lands low and stays long, pulling you through loose gravel, switchbacks, and wet tarmac without hesitation. Where older adventure bikes demanded constant correction, this one steadies itself. The weight sits low in the frame, keeping balance when luggage and weather pile on. The semi-active suspension becomes your unseen ally. It reads the road before your spine can, softening potholes, steadying climbs, and tightening corners without asking permission. The Showa setup constantly breathes with the terrain, never overbearing, never delayed. At slower speeds, it feels compact. At highway pace, it stretches out, ready to run all day. The automatic ride height system lowers at each stoplight, giving shorter riders flat-foot confidence without sacrificing ground clearance once rolling. It is a quiet act of engineering empathy, a small change that makes a massive difference for real riders. Comfort carries through the entire cockpit. The saddle's narrow nose and broad support make 10-hour days manageable. Heated grips and a windscreen that actually works transform cold mornings into tolerable challenges instead of endurance tests. The handlebar position encourages upright posture, freeing your shoulders and easing tension over time. You can stand on the pegs and look over traffic, or sit back into the horizon. Either way, the geometry holds its line. It is a rare case of modern technology being used not to dazzle, but to disappear. The Pan America's display stays bright in sunlight, blending navigation, communication, and ride modes with functional simplicity. On highways, it glides with calm precision. Off-road, it sharpens with control and confidence. Every throttle twist balances heritage and innovation, proving adventure and American torque can share the same soul and conquer every mile together. Practical touches seal the experience. The side stand is sturdy enough for uneven ground, and the handguards keep cold wind off your knuckles during long climbs. Storage is measured, not massive, enough for tools, gloves, and an honest lunch. Every detail whispers intention. This machine was designed by people who ride, not by committees guessing at what riders might want. Older American riders often question whether this direction betrays the Harley soul. The answer sits somewhere between the frame rails. It respects it by proving that torque, independence, and long-haul grit still matter, even when the scenery changes. The V-twin attitude lives inside a new rhythm. You can feel it every time the rear wheel claws for traction and the bars settle in your palms. It is still American freedom, just wearing hiking boots instead of chrome loafers. There is something poetic in watching dust rise behind a Harley logo. For decades, that emblem symbolized highways and rallies. Now it marks switchbacks and summits. For riders who built their identities on the sound of a Milwaukee heartbeat, this bike offers a new pulse, steady, mechanical, yet undeniably alive. It speaks to the man who refuses to shrink his world to paved routes. The cost may test loyalty, but the reward renews it. $19,999 buys entry into a different kind of pride. The satisfaction of knowing the brand that built the open road now conquers the roads that never were. That is legacy, not betrayal. The Pan America does not apologize for its evolution. It earns it mile by mile, rock by rock, storm by storm. It produces 150 horsepower from a liquid-cooled Revolution Max engine, displacing 1,252 cubic centimeters, generating 94 pound-feet of torque. Braking comes through dual front and single rear discs supported by a full anti-lock braking system. The suspension is a Showa semi-active front and rear setup with automatic ride height adjustment. The wet weight rests at 569 pounds. The seat height measures 31.1 inches in its lowered position, and the starting price sits at $19,999. And as the engine cools beside a tent or a motel parking lot, you hear more than metal ticking down. You hear the reminder that freedom was never about where you ride. It was always about how far you are willing to go. If you're feeling that mix of pride and disbelief at Harley's new direction, hit that like button and drop a comment. Real riders' opinions belong in this conversation. Number 4. Harley Davidson Lowrider ST. Every generation of riders remembers the first time they found a bike that felt like it was built just for them. Powerful, balanced, and stripped of anything unnecessary. The Lowrider ST is that feeling reborn for the road ahead. It captures the raw pulse of Harley's muscle heritage while blending in a restraint that speaks to maturity, not compromise. This is not a loud showpiece. It is a declaration that performance and purpose can still share the same tank. Those numbers are impressive, but they are only half the story. What makes the Lowrider special is the way it transforms that muscle into control. The frame geometry is tighter and more responsive than older cruisers, creating a sense of confidence instead of caution when entering corners. The inverted front fork stiffens the steering feel, making each lean deliberate and smooth, while the rear monoshock absorbs imperfections with quiet precision. It is a cruiser that behaves like a sport bike when challenged, yet still feels like home when cruising through town. The fairing, inspired by West Coast performance styling, is more than attitude. It slices through wind, stabilizing the front end at highway speed while reducing fatigue on long rides. The airflow moves over the shoulders instead of slamming into the chest, keeping the body relaxed and the mind focused. You do not fight the wind, you move with it. Behind the fairing, the analog-style gauges give a nod to older machines, but their clarity and layout are modern. Every glance gives just enough information without cluttering the ride. On paper, this is a technical leap. On the road, it feels like an evolution of instinct. The throttle response is immediate, but not harsh. It grows stronger as the revs rise, turning roll-on power into a rolling wave. The Milwaukee 8 engine breathes deep, its rhythm confident but refined. Older riders who grew up on carburetors and raw exhaust will find familiarity in its tone, but they will also notice the smoothness that modern tuning brings. It is performance without punishment. Comfort is where the Lowrider shows its dual nature. The solo seat positions the rider slightly lower and closer to the tank, improving control while keeping weight centered. Mini ape handlebars rise just enough to open the chest and relax the shoulders. Foot controls stay mid-mounted, keeping knees tucked comfortably and allowing easy transitions between city and highway positions. The cockpit fits the body like an old leather glove, firm, worn in, and built to endure. The Lowrider blends aggression and restraint, its clean fairing lines and matte finishes exuding mature strength. On the open road, stability and torque create effortless rhythm. Compact bags keep freedom intact while balance defines every mile. It honors Harley's muscle heritage through refinement, proving soul and performance still coexist. Each twist of the throttle renews independence, grit, and purpose. the timeless conversation between rider, machine, and the waiting road ahead. When you park it, the lowrider does not look flashy or delicate. It looks purposeful, like a tool built for people who understand why tools matter. It sits low, wide, and proud, carrying the same quiet authority as the men who ride it. There is nothing uncertain about its posture or its purpose. It is a machine that respects its heritage while refusing to be trapped by it. It produces 121 horsepower from a Milwaukee 8 engine displacing 1,923 cubic centimeters, generating 139 pound-feet of torque. Braking comes from dual front and single rear discs, supported by a full anti-lock braking system. The suspension setup features a 43mm inverted front fork with a premium rear monoshock. Wet weight measures 720 pounds, seat height rests at 27.2 inches, and the starting price is $24,199. And when the day fades and the engine cools, the bike leaves behind something subtle but unforgettable, the reminder that real performance is not loud, it is lasting. The Lowrider ST proves that evolution can still wear steel and leather, that progress can still sound like a heartbeat on the highway. It stands as proof that Harley's next chapter belongs not to a new generation, but to every rider who never stopped believing in the old one. Whatever you ride, gear up right. My no-nonsense accessories list is in the description. Number 3. Harley Davidson CVO Street Glide. There are motorcycles that travel long distances, and then there are machines that turn distance into memory. The CVO Street Glide belongs to the latter. It is the embodiment of what American touring has always promised: comfort, command, and craftsmanship all rolled into one deliberate silhouette. For decades, this model has carried riders from one coast to the other, defining the rhythm of the open road. The 2026 edition does not just continue that legacy, it refines it for a new era of endurance and pride. From the first ignition, the Street Glide breathes familiarity. The idle carries that signature throb, twist the throttle and the torque answers instantly, pulling through gears with a deep mechanical hum rather than a roar. The delivery feels mature, confident, and constant, reminding you that true power does not need to shout. It is the kind of strength you feel through the bars and seat, where every vibration is intentional and every movement serves a purpose. This is not a bike for showing off, it is a bike for settling in. At highway pace, the fairing cuts through crosswinds with grace. The batwing design, one of Harley's most recognizable features, has been refined for smoother airflow and reduced buffeting. The result is silence where there used to be fatigue. The mirrors stay steady, the bars remain calm, and the helmet no longer fights the air. Long rides become less of an endurance test and more of a meditation on motion. It is comfort earned through precision, not padding. Inside the cockpit, the Street Glide blends modern intelligence with timeless simplicity. The Skyline infotainment system anchors the dash with a 12.3-inch color display that integrates navigation, communication, and music through a single touch. The layout is clean, and the interface avoids clutter. The controls fall naturally under the thumbs, making it easy to adjust without distraction. The gauge cluster still feels analog at heart, preserving the sensation of piloting a machine rather than managing a screen. Comfort extends beyond the seat. Every contact point feels deliberate. The handlebars rise just high enough to open the chest and keep the shoulders loose, while the footboards allow for subtle shifts in position during long rides. The saddle itself is shaped for distance. Hours melt away beneath you, not behind you. The suspension smooths out the irregularities of cracked pavement, leaving you free to focus on the rhythm of the horizon instead of the punishment of the road. Visually, the Street Glide carries a timeless confidence. Its lines remain strong and grounded, yet every edge has been sharpened. The fairing flows seamlessly into the tank, and the bodywork hugs the engine with deliberate precision. Paint options deepen into rich metallics layered with subtle gradients that reveal themselves under sunlight. The machine glows with restrained pride rather than shouting for attention. Even the LED lighting follows the same discipline, bright enough for clarity, never excessive. The braking system deserves its own respect. Brembo dual fronts deliver a smooth, progressive bite that builds confidence at every stoplight and every mountain descent. The anti-lock braking system intervenes only when truly necessary, acting quietly to preserve stability. Together with traction control, it forms an invisible guardian, protecting without interfering. You feel the control without losing the connection. For older riders who still value mechanical feedback, it strikes the right balance between safety and sensation. Its balanced power carries riders, luggage, and legacy with unshakable composure. At night, amber lights in steady rhythm create trust few machines match. Built with craftsmanship and restraint, it honors heritage through refinement, turning every journey into reflection. This motorcycle doesn't chase attention. It reminds riders why they fell in love with the open road. It produces 121 horsepower from a Milwaukee 8 engine, displacing 1,977 cubic centimeters, generating 145 pound-feet of torque. Braking comes from dual front and single rear Brembo discs, supported by a full anti-lock braking system. Suspension is handled by Showa dual bending valve forks up front and premium adjustable rear shocks tuned for touring performance. The wet weight measures 840 pounds. Seat height sits at 26.7 inches, and the starting price is $42,995. For riders who built their lives around the hum of the open road, this is more than a motorcycle. It is a continuation of a promise. A promise that comfort can coexist with character, that technology can respect tradition, and that the soul of touring still beats in metal, fuel, and faith. Number 2. Harley Davidson Street Bob 117. Every rider remembers the first time they twisted a throttle and felt a machine answer with honesty. The Street Bob brings that feeling back with no filter, no fluff, and no apology. It stands as the purest expression of what a motorcycle should be: steel, torque, and attitude. In 2026, this machine returns leaner, meaner, and truer to its roots than ever before. For riders who want the essence of freedom without distractions, this is the bike that speaks their language. This bike was built for riders who believe less truly is more. Just a narrow frame, mid-controls, and the kind of simplicity that demands respect. The stripped-down design lets the engine and geometry do the talking. The result is agility that feels almost telepathic, light on its feet through city corners, yet stable and planted at highway speed. The balance between weight and power is near perfect, making it one of the most responsive cruisers Harley has ever offered. The Street Bob blends comfort and purpose through logical design, mid-controls, and firm support that outlasts miles. Blacked-out finishes and minimal lines honor Harley's working-class roots. Its deliberate clutch, solid gearbox, and refined suspension deliver control with old-school honesty. Agile on highways, yet calm in traffic, it stays pure, personal, and timeless. A blank canvas of rebellion refined for modern riders who still measure freedom by the road beneath them. On back roads, it dances between curves with ease, the engine's torque always within reach. On open highways, it hums like a trusted companion. Every ride feels personal, intimate, and real. There is no screen between you and the experience. When parked, the Street Bob looks at home anywhere: a roadside diner, a garage, or the shoulder of a mountain pass. It carries quiet authority, the kind that does not fade when the engine cools. Riders who swing a leg over one know exactly what they are getting: a bike that delivers freedom in its purest form. It produces 105 horsepower from a Milwaukee 8 engine displacing 1,923 cubic centimeters, generating 125 pound-feet of torque. Braking comes from dual front and single rear discs, supported by a full anti-lock braking system. The suspension setup includes an inverted front fork paired with a hidden rear monoshock tuned for everyday performance. The wet weight measures 650 pounds, seat height rests at 26.8 inches, and the starting price is $17,999. In a market chasing luxury and electronics, the Street Bob stands apart as a reminder of what really matters. It is not about riding faster, farther, or fancier. It is about feeling connected. The connection between rider and machine, between sound and soul, between freedom and faith. The Street Bob 117 proves that even in a changing world, some things are still built the right way. If you ride for freedom, not trends, subscribe now. The next countdown dives deeper into Harley's hidden future. And trust me, you'll want to be there first. Number 1. Harley Davidson CVO Road Glide ST. There are motorcycles that command attention, and then there are machines that command respect. The Road Glide ST sits firmly in the latter category. It represents the highest point of Harley's 2026 engineering, a statement of power and precision built for riders who believe performance and endurance belong together. For decades, the Road Glide name has carried weight among long-haul riders. In this latest CVO form, it becomes more than a touring motorcycle. It becomes the definition of American distance itself. It produces 130 horsepower from a Milwaukee 8 engine displacing 1,977 cubic centimeters, generating 150 pound-feet of torque. Braking comes from dual front and single rear Brembo discs, supported by a full anti-lock braking system. The suspension setup uses fully adjustable Showa inverted front forks, paired with premium rear shocks, tuned for performance touring. The wet weight measures 890 pounds, seat height sits at 26.8 inches, and the starting price is $1,995. That combination of numbers does not just look powerful on paper, it feels it from the first roll of the throttle. The Milwaukee 8 engine is alive with deliberate rhythm, its torque immediate and muscular. The response is not violent, it is confident, the kind of steady surge that builds without breaking composure. You do not chase speed on this motorcycle, you command it. The gearbox engages with satisfying precision, each shift a clean click that reinforces the sense of craftsmanship running through every inch of the machine. The fairing, long known for its shark-nose design, defines both its look and its performance. Through hours of wind tunnel testing, Harley's engineers shaped it to cut cleaner and hold steadier at high speed. The airflow now hugs the rider, reducing buffeting and easing fatigue across hundreds of miles. You feel the road, but the wind becomes a companion rather than an opponent. The dual headlamps project a wide, calm beam that stretches deep into the night, offering confidence when the horizon fades to black. From the saddle, the Road Glide feels like a command center designed by riders who have done their time in the elements. The seat is sculpted to keep the rider anchored yet comfortable for the long haul, transforming late-year tours into quiet, steady escapes. Every detail seems designed to preserve focus and energy, not consume it. Inside, the fairing rests the Skyline infotainment system, a 12.3-inch display integrating navigation, communication, and media with clarity and restraint. Showa tuning balances power and grace while Brembo braking ensures control. Deep metallic paint, refined cooling, and comfort-driven design create a touring experience defined by endurance, legacy, and the quiet confidence of riders who have earned it. Even when parked, the Road Glide holds presence. The stance is broad but balanced, muscular yet graceful. It does not need flash or flare to assert dominance. It simply exists with quiet authority, the way an old fighter stands with his hands down because everyone already knows what he can do. When sunlight glances across the tank and chrome, it reflects not vanity, but legacy. When the engine finally settles and the ticking metal fades, the silence that follows says everything. It is the sound of a promise kept, the promise that Harley still builds motorcycles that carry the weight of pride, heritage, and endurance. The Road Glide ST does not scream for attention. It earns respect with every revolution. For the men who built their lives around torque, balance, and the open highway, this motorcycle is more than the top of a lineup. It is the summit of a philosophy. In 2026, Harley did not reinvent its legend. It refined it. The Road Glide ST is proof that evolution can still sound like thunder, roll like poetry, and feel like home on the longest road you can find. Harley didn't just launch new bikes, it rewrote its own language. Some riders will call it evolution, others will call it betrayal. But one thing's certain, the road ahead won't sound the same. So, which side are you on? The new Harley or the old brotherhood? Drop your answer in the comments. Hit that like button if you still believe in the ride, and subscribe, because the next chapter might prove that even legends can lose their voice.